Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How y'all doing? I see y'all coming in to the chat there. About to get started here. Thank you. I'm the American Anchor Baby. Of course, follow, subscribe here on YouTube if you want to support. It's a nice way you could just drop that like as you're coming in. Maybe you're new. You can hold your like for a bit if you'd like. And if you have a disagreement and you don't like, you can always comment away. I read those as well. It definitely helps just throwing in the engagement, even in the little chat right there in the side, if you'd like to be talking to all the people there. So thank you for that. We'll be getting into all that as well. Oh, yeah, Rumble. Of course, I got to shout out the Rumble people. Rumble.com/American Anchor Baby if you like it over there. They've been snazzing up their platform over there. So I see you guys. Thank you, Base Nation, TJ Hilliard, Ohio Sentinel. Thank you so much. Great stuff. Great shows. Okay, so thank you. Welcome. You know, when I realized that there is, in fact, a God and that I have anger, I started thinking differently. When I saw that I had developed a nature over time in that anger, in my imagination, in my mind, I realized that that is the side of me that I had been struggling with my whole life. This nature, this way of being, behavior that influenced me, that I didn't quite understand, but I knew I didn't want it. And I had a nebulous understanding of it. As I grew up, I realized there was a lack of what I had in my mind called what is a man, what being a man is. And I began to understand that I lacked something. At least that was my simple understanding a long time ago. But then I realized that there is a God and that I have anger. And so I started thinking differently. I started seeing the things that we see, that we talk about on this show, the things that have the topics and news items and all this stuff that has been, I feel like, in the forefront for a lot of people in these past few years, especially, just really turned up to 11. Politics, mainly, I'm talking about, too. The world, government, but other things as well. I started thinking differently about those things. I didn't see them the same. And a little bit about me, I never was into politics, wasn't a scholarly person in any way, not in that, nothing beyond if I couldn't quickly Google it or read it on the back of a cereal box, I didn't know it. I didn't really know myself and stuff. Civics, anything, politics, wars, history. But yet I started thinking differently about all these things we're talking about today and lately. Politics, religion, dating, life. I suddenly could see things I couldn't see before, and I didn't read them in a book. I didn't Google it. I saw them in my life, in myself and in others. And I began to think differently. I began, this may be a little shallow, but I became a voter, if you will. You know? I don't know. You know, I began voting, not become a voter. I mean, what does that mean? Supported Trump, etc. The physical stuff, the politics, the day-to-day stuff. I began to think differently about those things. And I didn't read it in a book. And I didn't, right? I didn't get some information, some history, some facts. I just began to think differently. So there's been some great shows today on the network, huh? Great shows. Jesse Lee Peterson, Hake Report holding it down. Wow Hassan killing it. You know, Ethan Ralph was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. And it was it was just great, okay? It's great as a real life proof of what Jesse has been talking about for so many years. And it's just so interesting, right? You got to understand this guy a little bit. Ethan Ralph came into the scene. Well, I don't know about came into the scene this way, but we know him kind of into the drama stuff. You could call it mess, gossip. Definitely not a person who's scared of having all sorts of guests on his show. And understanding that about him, as well as his very public, messy life with a baby mama, an ex-wife, the families of said people, and all that public mess that people saw, commented on, and had their opinions on. Ethan Ralph. And now he's come around here after listening to Jesse and is saying he's taking his advice about dropping this fight he's had. Such a long fight he's had over trying to see his children, the fight he's had with the women and their families, the back and forth, just the insanity. He says he just can't live like that. The thoughts are driving him crazy. And he has to let all that go. He sees that that's the only way to get out of this. Everything else isn't working. And he didn't need to, he just needed to hear the truth. And I say this because maybe he seems kind of like an unlikely, should I call it hero? I'm just using language here to communicate with all of you. But an unlikely hero in that I think maybe people in this, especially in this space, let's call it a space, the liberal word, this space of conservatives, especially maybe dissident conservatives, there's definitely older conservatives as well, from just the long legacy that Jesse's had, a legendary 30 years and continuing in his career. And I'm talking about all of you too. Well, it was mainly us here who know about Ethan Ralph and all that would see him as an unlikely person to do anything positive for the, what you might call the movement, the conservative movement to save America, MAGA. We have all these words and plans and ideas and how things should be. And yeah, here he comes around and he forgives. He wants to drop things. It's just it's interesting, right? I've heard this before. God uses unlikely people or whatever. It's like that example there from Ethan Ralph, I think, is more powerful than any uncovered truth and fact and history and book. Because I realized in my own life that you don't need all that you don't need all that to change, I guess. I'm using words tentatively. That you just don't need all that to live a good life and do good in life. You know what I mean? It can get confusing trying to be an expert about everything. You get lost in the sauce. And I didn't have to do all that. And I'm not saying I got the truth that I'm this dude who's got it all. But there's some pretty obvious things to me that are just clear now. And all it took was inner work, if I can keep it simple here. You know, we heard about forgiving. The mothers, the parents, we heard about that. Jessie Lee Peterson. You guys all know about that. If you don't know Jessie Lee Peterson, I might have some viewers who've never watched any of the Bond Network shows. JLP Network? I don't know. I'm kind of giving it that name. I don't think we've decided that. But Jessie Lee Peterson, who I'm on his network, talks about forgiving the mother as a step one, if you will, at understanding what is driving you. But anyways, that it was that inner work, understanding of yourself that changed stuff out here. Politics, how I saw life, how I saw men and women. And those changes on the outside, someone might look at me and say, oh, wow, you became a Republican. You became this or that. But I don't see it like that. And I think either Ralph and what I'm talking about here is proof of the heart, not about the facts and as they have their importance and their place. But people aren't convinced by those things and all that. So hope you guys saw it on the Jessie Lee Peterson show. Ethan Ralph seemed sincere on the interview. I wish him well. Willie Powell, nice. So hope you're following me so far, because we're going to run down the news a little bit, take calls, of course, 888-775-3773. But with that in mind, and Ethan and everything so far, great shows today, with what Hassan was talking about, everything, it kind of puts it into perspective, at least for me, right? Because even just 2 days ago, right, we were all getting into 9/11 and all that. And, hey, look, I got my questions, right? I got my questions. I'm not this detached monk from the world. Like, I don't know what I'm even saying here. But I got into it, right? As many of us have, right? We got questions. What do you mean passports? How'd you find those passports? Flight 93. Hey, I got plenty of questions. I think fair questions. But it's interesting that we got into it all. But if you don't know me by now a little bit, is that I don't really put too much importance in those things. Because like I just said, Ethan Ralph, I'm describing myself, which to me is the proof, right? Like that for me, it just shows me that I know that I know that I know that. And what I know is that when the heart changes, your mind changes, and you can get lost in the sauce trying to measure that. How awake are you, truly awake, blah, blah, blah. But we're seeing that in different levels and different examples. Ethan can be one. Jesse talks about God changing him from a Democrat. The callers on the shows, it's there if you really want to see it and pay attention, it's there. And none of that was from a book, a fact, that building 7 went down, da-da-da. If anything, I'm now interested in those things and can have a rational kind of sober view of it all due to not really putting that importance out of understanding that it's actually the order is people think they got the order wrong. Outside information will change you inside. It's the other way around. So to me proves it that you don't that it's not that important. Okay? Get into it, whatever. Like I said, fair questions. So just a little bit of what I was thinking about today. Very nice. Thank you, Ethan Ralph. Great shows today. Just really driving that, the message home. And I'm grateful. Super cool. Don't want to spend too much on this. What else was I going to say? So, great stuff. Do we need to confront, just a little bit more, confronting, I hear this too, that you need to confront, things like 9/11 to really get to the root of it and change things. I don't think so. I don't think that's the important part. And I think when you realize that, you'll be able to speak about those things in a more convincing way because you're not going to get all lost in emotion and useless things, minutia. You'll be able to speak clearly and people will understand. I think that's a good one of the fruits, if you will, of let me use a word here, but try not to like get into it too much. God's nature, if that makes sense, his mindset. That's, I think, a quality of it, a fruit of it, that people understand you, like you're that it's clear. And you could be clear about 9/11, I think. Okay, let's not get unclear here and get lost in the weeds. Let's keep it moving. I see y'all. What's up? Real Mr. Mad, Big Nuts, Big Nuts Master. I always bumble at your name because I realize what I'm saying. Big N, 𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍�. I see y'all. Alpha Male. Do I have my Russian friend in the chat? What's up, Final Frontier? Do I ever see your name in there? Emperor of Cats, Ivana. What's up, cuz? Sion. I got to say hi to everybody. Kale Somogi. Look, thank you, guys. So, is my Russian friend here? The alpha male Russian? Vlad in the chat. He said an interesting thing the other day. Just yesterday or the day before. What was it that you said? It was an interesting comment. I wonder if you're here. Vlad. Oh, what's up, alpha male? You are my Russian fan, Vlad. Thank you. We got alpha males out in Russia. You got to love it. And he said, interesting. What did you say the other day? I believe it was yesterday. You made a comment about the young guys on the network, like Hassan and I, being a little flippant about Hitler and previous like tragedies, if I will. What's up, Love Beneath, Esoteric, Jupiter, JS? I'm seeing y'all. Well, it was an interesting comment that you said, Vlad, about the younger hosts here being flippant. I think you even said Hake, and that's not to say he's not young. I don't know why I said it like that. I think you even said Hake. I'm just saying. That was an interesting comment. What was it that you said? It was cool. It was something about being too flippant about it. I like that. I like checks. Very cool. I could be a little facetious. Is that the right word? I could be a little flippant. Okay? It's for cheap laughs, Vlad. I hope you understand the cheap laughs from America. You seem to be following everything here, though, so thank you for that. Nice. So talking about all this, is it any surprise then, the heart change, the mind change, the politics change, you behaving in a different way? Like, first of all, do you guys even have faith in that? Anybody disagree? 888-775-3773. Do you all have that? Do you have faith in that? And maybe we can discuss what I even mean by that. Maybe I don't even understand myself. But do you even have faith that forgiving your mother would make you vote right? If you think that's ridiculous and silly, you can call in. It might be, but maybe you don't have faith. You know what I'm saying? Okay, come on. Maybe I don't. Okay, but so following that, is it any surprise then that as America and Americans, which make up America, are rejecting, are going away from God, going away from Christianity, and adopting a progressive and new, they call it, but very ancient and old pagan, can we call it that, pagan and godless, wishy-washy kind of mentality, ideology, if you will, and all that. Is it any surprise that there's child sacrifice going on, right? They call it abortion. That they're doing rituals, and that families are destroyed. Is it any surprise that as all that is happening in America, right? Political a mess in the justice system, right? Political opponents jailed, J6 people who never even went into the Capitol, given crazy sentences akin to some of the most violent terrorists who actually hurt people, that we're getting this witch hunt of Trump and weak Republicans and maybe you don't even care about all that, but just a decaying, if you will. Come on. decaying, the streets, the people themselves, just kind of like, people don't care. People all about themselves. Is it any surprise that those two things are coinciding? Correlation is not causation. I think it's pretty clear. Pagan biblically means all non-Jews. What? Is that like an old thing though? Kevin Howe? Let's not get back to what we're saying here. I love you, chat, but I got to stay on topic here. I'll check you guys in a moment. I am an anchor baby. Thanks, Frederick. From Canada. Oh, so is it any surprise that we're a fall in morality in the people? That you could just go to a school and then as a child in a public school and pick up a book out of your library and then be confronted with a tornado. I know, hold on. Maybe you don't know. I was once confronted with a tornado as well as a child. It was not good. Don't do it. Don't get... if you guys don't know, I mentioned back in the day, old story of mine, first time I ever saw Dirty Images. And this is not, I say this like, oh, it's like a laugh, but it's emblematic of our world, okay? Curious young kid. Ooh, www.sex.com. Back then, there wasn't any protection on the internet. Just stuff started popping up, and I didn't know what to do. I unplugged the computer, and there I was, a forever changed, curly-haired little kid. What the heck just happened? I got hit with a tornado is what happened. You can walk into a public school and do that today, apparently. Into a library, and this nice librarian is like, hey, I'm here to protect you. Your parents put you here, and so you could trust this. Check this out, by the way. Never stopping pop-ups. You know what I'm talking about, Kohlberger Art. Oh, is my Rumble not working or something? Oh, what's up, Base Nation? Thank you for the super chat, or shall we call it a Rumble rant over on Rumble? Maybe Osama bin Laden wasn't innocent, but he didn't send no planes into a tower. But if everyone's heart returned to love, it will all be fixed. Isn't that true, though? Is that too simple for y'all? No, Nick, that can't be it. It can't be it. Is that a little too simple for y'all? Thank you, Base Nation. You know, I heard Osama bin Laden denied ever doing that attack. I didn't know that. He denied that, like, multiple times. He's like, no, wait, I know America. I know we're not cool, and I don't like y'all, and I'm pretty much promised to kill y'all, but I didn't do that one. So, but maybe he just didn't want to be assassinated. I don't know. But thank you for that, Base Nation. So true. I believe that. So you can walk into a public school, like I was saying. You saw this clip on the Hake Report. Explicit material in school libraries. The words you spoke are disturbing. Kennedy stuns as he read explicit books during hearing. You heard about this a little bit. John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, I believe he's from Kentucky, showed his Democratic colleagues exactly what they're defending in public schools and libraries when he read sexually graphic excerpts from some of the banned books at the center of this culture war battle. And he read it. I don't have it all bleeped up like Hake had it. Even that was too far. So I'm not even going to show it or play it.
I confess I'm a...
But I wanted to show you. I'm going to mute it. So we'll just see the video just in case. Just so we don't get the dirty words that even Fox News wouldn't dare play. You mean you can't play this in a public school, but you can? I mean, you can't play it on national TV, but your kids are reading it in public school. I already ruined it. Look, check it out. Check it out. We'll just play the video because I find it so funny. You got this senator asking about porno in school books for children, and who is he talking to? He's like, excuse me, sir. Yeah, I'll just do a little voiceover. Yeah. So yeah, there's porn in them books. Okay, hold on. The video's not playing. We're gonna get this video, okay? I'll do a little voiceover for now, since we got we don't want to play all this disturbing stuff. The sun is still out, okay? We at least leave it for nighttime Nick stream, but this is, I think, even too far for that. well, I'm trying to show you this interaction between Senator John Kennedy and this individual he's speaking to, which I found so funny. And I already kind of given it away here. But he's talking to this person. He's like, what planet did you come from? He's like, so...
would you like me?
let me just mute that. So, there's like porn and books, right? There's porn and books and there's children. And then it's this fruity-looking powder suit. Hey, nobody... It might kind of look like a Hassan suit, but Hassan is alpha and wears it like a boss. He's a little bow-tied fruit going like, yes, I think children should have porn in the books because they need to be exploring their sexuality. Excuse me, sir, but there's porn in them books. You don't know that's bad for them? So, look, why isn't there anyone normal defending this explicit material to, shout out to the fruity fellas, explicit material in children's schools? I mean, how come there's never anyone normal? Why is it like a little, I don't know. I don't want to say, I don't know his heart, right, y'all? I don't know what he's about. But apparently he's about explicit books in school. And they hide, and they like dress it up as like it's a positive thing. You're so that they don't make mistakes and they don't grow up. They don't grow up like hating themselves. And usually they don't grow up like me. I'm pretending to be the fruity guy with the jacket. So the kids can grow up and not feel so judged, and I don't grow up like I did, judging myself because of my own perversions. You following a little bit? Trauma begets trauma. You send it out. And so, yeah, how come there's never anyone normal? Shout out to the Fruity Pebbles. Where was I? Right, they dress it up as it's like a good thing. They're trying to do good here. They see it as love. You got to understand that as well. Maybe there's some people who are quite evil and maybe a little bit more aware. And, they have some kind of desire that they see that they can fulfill by pushing this stuff and being surreptitious with it. Hey, am I using English correctly now? But I think most people think it's love, right? And so you got to understand that too. Which goes back to how I opened the show. You can be like, hey, do you know that like AIDS? Hey, don't you know AIDS and stats and gay? No. Forgiving your mother. You have the nature of a woman. So it goes back to kind of how I opened the show. The facts wouldn't help this guy either because they see it as love. They see what they're doing as love. So fits this. We'll move on from that thing. I had to show you our powdered friend. We love, anyways, because we are, I guess, repaganizing. Some think so. Some very smart people online. They think so. I think they got their writings about it. I'm showing you something here. Louise Perry. We are repaganizing. But I think that's just evident. I think that's quite evident, and we could just see that. We could just see that. I know some people see it as being rational and secular and atheist, but it's like a new religion, right? You're going to worship something. You're going to be influenced by something. And so is it any surprise we're seeing this in schools and all that? I mean, there's all these recent, like a whole bunch of like recent groomers, they call them in government and in schools, that these Twitter accounts and stuff have been sharing. I mean, I got it here, but I'm done with this. You guys are understanding me. I don't need to show you all that, right? So is it any surprise? Let me move on from this. Okay, y'all? Because I made my point. And I want to get into something different here. Shall we do something? Yeah, let's do something. Just a side comment here, because it kind of fits, right? Morality, degenerating, right? We're looking at our world around us, and we're like, okay, some of us are noticing things are kind of getting worse, messier, falling apart, not as stable. Think of whatever you want: transportation, public roads, insane people in the streets, just crime, policing. Things are degenerating. One of those is the airports, the airlines. And you know me, I'm a weekend pilot sometimes, right? It's called a little flying. We do a little piloting. And so as a pilot expert, obviously, I'm interested in plane news. The algorithm loves feeding me plane news now. There's an investigation on this rash of airplane near misses. They're calling it near misses. And there's a few of them you're already aware about that have happened in recent months and years. The JFK one. But there's been a lot more than you think. A lot more. Let's watch this a little bit here. See if we can get in the mind of get a finger on the pulse of what's going on here.
Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance. Rejecting.
In January, a Delta plane almost colliding with an American Airlines flight that was on the wrong runway at JFK, the pilot slamming on the brakes. The next month in Austin,
Southwest aboard. FedEx is on the go.
A FedEx cargo plane coming within 100 feet of a Southwest flight packed with passengers. And weeks later, in Boston, air traffic control telling a Learjet pilot to wait before taking off because a JetBlue plane was landing on an intersecting runway.
Going to land 4 right, JetBlue 206.
The pilot taking off anyway, forcing the JetBlue plane to go from 87 feet to 3,900.
And then hitting the ground and then going back up within seconds. Like, you definitely got a jolt, and then nobody knew what was going on.
In the New York Times review of internal FAA safety documents and in a NASA database, they found only a fraction of near misses and mid-air scares like these have been publicly disclosed.
The New York Times is looking at NASA databases that's bringing to light some of these incidents that haven't been publicly known. Most of them, if not all of them, have been factors involving human error.
What's behind the
human error? Okay, check it out. This part's interesting.
Concern?
So, why it's happening, human error. Check it out. This part's interesting.
One factor, an ongoing shortage of air traffic controllers and more planes in the sky. According to a report from the Department of Transportation's Inspector General this June, 20 of 26 critical air traffic control facilities were staffed below the minimum thresholds of 85%, with controllers working mandatory overtime and 6-day work weeks to cover the shortages. The number of air traffic controllers down 10% over the last decade.
Okay, you taking it in? They just don't have enough people. They don't have enough people. So it's falling apart. People are overworked, and these are people doing some pretty critical work when you got to get these planes going around safely. So, we've heard some of this already. And some of you are already in the chat saying, diversity hires. Do you need a degree to become a controller? And we've heard of the lowering of standards, really everywhere, military, firefighters, police, but including in this world. The FAA, the ATCs, and the pilots, right? More black pilots or something. We saw the ads. We saw footage of Nick. Hey, Ivana, don't be slandering. We have a legal team at Anchor Baby Airlines. You're gonna want to be careful with your words. The lowering of standards. We saw the ads. We saw the bus station posters and advertisements of more black women in the air and air traffic controllers and all that. We heard that. And we say, well, that lowering of the standards has to be an explanation, right, to why we're seeing what we're seeing. I think that's true. It's emblematic of really a general direction and trend in America. But also, I just wonder how much this is out of like desperation and necessity, okay? If you're following me here. I wonder how much, because they're saying it's, even with all this opening it up and lowering the standards and diversity and let's just get more people and really just penetrate that market, that demographic, and get them here because we need people. We're down 10%. So even with all that, they're still down 10% in air traffic controllers. I wonder how much of this is out of just like necessity, desperation. Now, do we need that many people traveling and flying? Maybe they should cut back and make things slower if you're not going to be able to do it safely. How much of it is greed and you just got to keep the machine going? even if it's unsafe. That's evil, sure. But also, I wonder how much. It would be nice to know, like, how much of this is it being affected by just people don't really want to work, or they don't want to do skilled work, or am I hitting any chords here? Am I making any sense? Like, I wonder how much it's that, and maybe it's maybe real, like, good workers are being kind of turned off from the focusing on identity versus merit, but I don't know if that's really that deep. It's, anyways, just kind of thinking about it. I wonder how much it's that. And then it kind of brings into mind, like, the military and police and all that. Are they desperate for people? Which is kind of a worse implication on the state of things, a little worse than we thought. Are they desperate for people? Not just like a lowering of standards just because it's just incompetent people on the top, and they really truly think that we need diversity and it'll just be better. They truly think diversity will make a better police force. Or is it like desperation, and how do we convince people that this is a good idea? Well, we're killing hate. We're destroying hate. And then it kind of starts making a little sense why Beverly Hills, cops show up quick, remove homeless people fast. And it takes hours, days for people calling about vagrants, threatening them on their daily lives elsewhere. I don't know. I don't want to say there's just not enough, but anyways. And they're calling it a near miss. What's a near miss? I was reminded of this. George Carlin, comedian, already sussed this one out years ago. This is an old clip. George Carlin, comedian. I kind of like it when a lot of people die. That's one of his bits. It doesn't sound funny, but it's funny, I swear. I kind of like it when there's a lot of human death and carnage, and I kind of like it. Yeah, why are they calling it a near miss? What's a near miss? Hold on. You mean a near crash, a near collision?
Interrupt the flow of my day. Here's one they just made up. Near miss. When two planes almost collide, they call it a near miss. It's a near hit. A collision is a near miss. Look, they nearly missed.
Okay, right on, George Carlin. Thank you for that. I think he was an atheist. I think he made that quite clear. He had a lot of criticisms of the Christians, and it's interesting to see Christianity in a different light and how I grew up. Seeing the Christians in my family made me feel like George Carlin too, man. So I totally understand you, George Carlin. I don't think you were looking at Christians. You were just looking at everybody. They're all the same. But it's a shame, right? Christians should be different. They should be set apart. Not in an ego way, but you were saved. God saved you. What the heck? Act like it. But yeah, he was he had criticisms of the Christian world and all that. I think they were interesting. I think he wanted blacks to overrun white America too. What do you mean, esoteric? Really? Yeah, he was an atheist. He was a base theist. He just asked questions. Renee says in the chat, he was just asking questions. Hey, we're just asking questions. Well, guess what? You go to jail now for that. Whew. So thank you, George Carlin. But yeah, kind of funny, but the falling apart of standards here. Man, they call it a near miss. I love that. I never really thought of that until George Carlin woke me up. Thank you, man. Near collision. It's when you collide, it's a near miss. That's funny. Amazing. There's two ways I want to take this, y'all. I got two directions I could take this. So before I decide, let me see what y'all say it in the chat. Let me make sure I don't miss anything here. I got some Rumble rants. Big boy Rumble rants. Thank you, the Hake Report. We got the Hake Report over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. First class Rumble rant says, what a shame how that boy turned out with the light pink blazer. Yeah, what the little fruity voice. Like, not really making me confident in what you're pushing here, man. I don't know if I really trust you, man. I don't really want my kids to be like you. There's something about you, powder pink, light pink blazer guy. Not Hassan. There's something about you, guy, that Senator John Kennedy was talking to, that I don't quite want proliferated in my family. So I will take my kids out of school. I don't have kids, but 888-775-3773. I do see your calls. Thank you so much. I'm about to get to you. Appreciate that. We're about to run these calls. Where am I? A little lost. Two directions I want to take this in stories. You know what we're going to do next after this call? Mama Climate. That's what we'll do. Amazing video coming out of Apple. New iPhone coming out and all that. The Garden of Eden. Are you part of the Garden of Eden? That's Apple. The Garden of Eden. Or at least the Garden of Eden on Earth. So is it corrupt? Maybe. But the Garden of Eden on Earth, made by man, the Tower of Babel maybe is more fitting. Apple, now owned by Tim Cook or led by Tim Cook, now was masterminded by the famous Steve Jobs, who's now living out the rest of his days in India, if you believe the conspiracy theories. There's like photos of a man in India. They're saying as Steve Jobs. I'll just show you, in fact, since it's so silly. We got Steve Jobs in India. I don't know if that's Steve Jobs, guys. I think that's just Paramurti Bilal. Nice guy. Mr. Bilal Jaramurti. I made that up. Okay. But we'll get into that. We'll get into Apple, and there's very interesting video they put out. Silliness. That too, and the mess. We're gonna get into some women stuff too here. Ooh, and also New Mexico. Interesting stuff in New Mexico. Wondering how y'all feel about this one. Let me get to... Oh. I'm being too quick on the draw here. I believe the call screener out there is still handling the call. So thank you for that. We'll get to the calls here in a moment. I'm talking about this amazing video that Apple put out. At Apple, we believe that climate change is one of the world's most urgent priorities, and we are deeply committed to doing our part. Today, we had a special guest, a real force of nature, stop by to check our progress. So they basically put out a video, and I'm going to explain it a bit because I don't want to watch all this. I just realized how long it is. But they put out a video trying to tell the world how well they are dealing with so-called climate change. And they had Mother Nature herself. All yours. Mother Nature herself show up to give Apple and the employees, the board members, whatever, a little lecture, a little rundown on how well are they treating the nature that the mother here has so lovingly left us. And it's the black woman coming in and lecture these corporations that they're destroying the world, and what are you doing now? Are you going to fix it? And we're not going to watch a whole bunch of it, but they say a couple of things here. The women, they really impress Mother Nature here. The women really impress Mother Nature with some of the numbers they're pumping out. She starts changing her tune a little bit. Like, okay, you guys are doing a good job. Okay, I'm a little surprised. Usually these other companies, they're lying. They're not really up and up on what they're saying here. They don't really care about Mother Nature like Apple seems to care, huh? The whole thing is just so, honestly, the whole thing is it's just a big psyop, because you got to remember, this is Apple putting this out. So you got to understand the mentality, the self-image that they've put out here is so interesting. Here's God, and God is a black woman. And God is here and God is showing favor to Apple. But again, this is an ad that Apple put out themselves. And God is impressed, and God is showing favor to Apple, and that they truly are stewards of the world. Stewards of the world here. Incredible claims here in the video. Let's skip forward to the ones that some people are talking about carbon neutral. They're calling it carbon neutral. They call it carbon neutral.
Explaining carbon neutrality to Mother Nature.
Right, now. Don't talk to me about carbon neutrality, huh? Okay, I'm adding to it. She's not talking like that. She's not talking like that. Obviously, Mother Nature here is a very well-spoken lady. I don't know why I gave her that accent. Oh, come on, Elon. Elon, I was just speaking well about you. You really want me to refresh? This is really my fault, y'all. I should be grabbing these clips and having them ready to just play on my little system here. Thank you, Elon.
Transportation
so carbon neutrality,
emissions 5%. Not too bad. I'm also happy
to go on to impress her. They say crazy things like 95% reduction in emissions and 100%. This is our first carbon neutral. Look, Tim Cook shows up. He's like, check me out. I got you Apple's first carbon neutral product. And by 2030, all of our products will be completely carbon neutral. I mean, it's just a lie, okay? Because what does that even mean, carbon neutral? You gotta, if you're living, you're carboning. Let's keep it simple, right? Maybe that's too simple. Maybe you don't like that. Yeah, I just can't do this, guys. Let's move on. I got a call here. Let's get to this call. But yeah, carbon neutral, that's not even real. If you're living, you're carboning. Okay? If we're going to use simple language, huh? We love it simple. Come on. Simplicity is beautiful. Tim Cook, what else did I want to say about this? I had a funny joke, I think, but I lost it. Anyways, that's God, and that's Tim Cook. I got William, California. How you doing?
Hey, long time.
What's up, William? Thank you for calling my show. How you been?
All right. What's on your mind?
A little bit of the shows today. Honestly, what was on my mind was really what I was opening the show up with. Just today's shows, the Hake Report, Jesse Lee Peterson, Hassan.
Great shows.
Great shows. And I think all in their own ways demonstrated today how if I could keep it simple, just when you understand yourself and you do kind of inner work, your outer worlds make sense. And you don't need all this information to know how to vote. But when you do this, when you understand yourself, you just start to see the right way to go in life. It's really just remembering things that you knew.
Simple.
Simplice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very simple. I mean, you're talking about air traffic control.
Yes.
They try to affirmative action that, and this will tell you, see, this is why Trump is not popular. I'm not popular either amongst my own black people, but that's because I tell the truth. Do you think the black man that Joe Biden tried to appoint to head the air traffic control, do you think he needs to be hired just because he's black? And his qualifications, I'm going to break down to you. He ran the janitor department at airports. So do you think he deserved that job?
I would bet no. I would bet no, considering the mentality behind this kind of stuff. Biden picks former aviation official to head. No, not the FAA. You said. I'm trying to find the person.
I think the black guy, he didn't get it. They shot him down. He wasn't qualified.
Gotcha.
Didn't work. Yeah.
Some things is too far, huh?
It can. I mean, what you think if you get on one of those things and you run into another plane in the air? You were just talking about air traffic control problems on the runways.
That's why I have the suspicion, and maybe I'm not the first one to say this, but this is the first time I kind of thought about it, that they saying, diversity hires, and we got to focus on this because it's the right thing to do. But, I mean, I wonder how much of that is desperation. They literally just don't have enough people. It
takes 2 years.
Yeah.
It takes exactly 2 years to actually take that course.
Yeah.
Now, your troll callers, they wouldn't know this. It takes 2 years, and most of those people come from the United States Air Force. Now, here's the chain reaction. Pandemic hits, they go back to work. These people said, I'm not going back to work. and you're going to force me to get jabbed. So they said, "The hell with you. Stick your job up your tail. We're gone."
Right. Oh, I knew this, but thanks for reminding us. Yeah, that was probably a huge hit to so many different industries and sectors.
And your trolls didn't know this either. It was an air traffic control shortage before the pandemic. So how do you think it is when you take the military and water it down with a bunch of wimps, basically?
Yeah.
And most of your traffic controllers come from the Air Force. And what do we have in the military right now? Plus the 2 years course, you have an air traffic control shortage.
Wow.
Now,
the chair force not doing anything. So how much do you think is how much do you think this is? I just feel like this is maybe not a considered point here. That maybe
Frederick,
the police, we're seeing the police.
Tell Frederick I don't need to Google this. These are things that everybody knew. He should have known that because he's in the
He's
chat.
commenting on the chat.
I'm fine with it. You know, I know what I'm talking about. I don't need Google, brother. I went to good schools. Okay,
He's
I didn't grow up in Compton.
William's commenting on the chat here. You know, it makes me, what you're saying here makes me just wonder about like things like the police, for example. It's like, yeah, diversity. What are these crazy people doing with diversity? But I don't think they really believe that they're making police better. It's out of desperation.
They ain't making no sense. Because I'm gonna tell you what, somebody comes in the studio right now and say, "I'm gonna shoot all y'all," and you guys somehow can get the police to come rescue you. Do you want a team of women with guns and badges, or do you want somebody to come in there and overpower that person before you die?
I'm gonna need some. I'm gonna need some power here.
Yeah, you're gonna need some power. Have you seen the women police officers how they're getting overpowered?
I've definitely seen those videos. And what's crazy too? Yeah, we've seen the overpowering. But another thing that this used to be talked about. Actually, I remember articles on this that male police officers with female partners find themselves in more negligent discharges.
That's right.
Either their partners doing the negligent discharge or finding themselves just hurt more because they're actually not only just protecting themselves, but having to protect their female or less competent partners in general and stuff like that.
See, you see how Biden does? He tries to use Trump's material against him. I just got it done to me in the chat. I'm the one that told you a month ago, Frederick, all you do is look at Google and then come in the next day and think you got information. But see, you have to be educated on the information you have.
Now I'm a little lost, William.
No. You have to be educated on. Wait a minute. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm pointing something out. You have to be educated on what you are looking for. If you don't, you're going to look like a dummy that is Googling. I'm not Googling this information. This is something that was known 2 years ago. We had a air traffic controller shortage before the pandemic. It's 2 years to take that course. Right. You got military experience in the Air Force. Those are the guys who do the towers.
Yeah.
Now, if you water down the military, and affirmative action, the military, and affirmative action, the air traffic control system, how safe are you going to be? Does that take a college education or Google to figure out?
No, I don't think. It's just I don't think you need that to figure that out. But it's crazy because they set themselves up. They put out these mandates and the jab and all that, shooting themselves in the foot. All these people, they quit. They're not going to be. They're just. I'm not going to do it. There's
first of all, they're talking about taking the jab, right? So here's the deal. They're standing up for their constitutional right by saying, "I will get the jab if I want the jab."
Exactly. And the crazy thing is that the government and everybody made these people leave, and now they're willing to put the people and civilians and passengers in danger to try and fix their problem here.
By affirmative actioning the jobs off and saying we have a shortage, we got to hire.
Bingo.
We have to hire by color, and we have to do all that. No, you're really supposed to hire by qualification. And quite frankly, somebody keeps talking about women were in the battlefield in World War II. They were never on anybody's bed. They were building the planes in General Motors and Chrysler. That's where the women were. They were in the USO, and they were also in the military, medicine, and the medics. They were never on the battlefield. You see, this is why you said you wanted somebody to come in that studio with some power to stop from you and Jesse and James from getting killed. Did you just now say that, right?
I did. And you know, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what you just said, though, is that it's funny you said about Googling and all that. What you just said, you used to be able to Google that. And funny enough, I remember a much younger Nick Googling about female combatants and getting the first few hits were Google articles on how Israel tried that and it didn't work. And so that's why modern militaries don't. I remember reading that.
First of all, if you have a unit of 600 men, if you have a 600-man unit, I don't know what you call that, a regiment, or I don't know, whatever, brigade, whatever. Let's say a brigade. How many people in a brigade? Okay, I don't know what the number is. Actually, let's just say 500 soldiers. You got women on the battlefield with the men. How many of those women will probably get on the battlefield actually and have the training to actually hold their own? To make sure the guy next to her is safe, like he's going to make her safe. How many of the women out of 500 men will make that team? Probably about 80. Now, let me break something down to you that you don't need Google for as well. Out of 80 women in a unit that's in battle, I think everybody that's doing Google has forgot about something. Every military in the world has a German Shepherd or some kind of a dog to sniff out the enemy. So out of the 80 women, out of 500 people, 80 of them are women. How many of the women out of the 80 are going to be on their period?
Oh, Lord.
And when they're on their period, it's going to be out of 80, probably 30 on their period. And the dog is going to do what?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh,
women are not allowed on the battlefield.
You think it would? Think it would affect the efficacy of the dogs here?
It would affect the unit. They would get blown to smithereens. You'll be found.
Yeah. I see you.
Okay.
No, I mean,
they're up in the air. They do have them in planes. There's one chick. She was pretty good up in Iraq. She shot some MiGs down.
Some what?
But, yeah, she shot a couple. She shot a MiG down or something.
Oh,
she
a MiG
pilot.
MiG, right?
MiG, a MiG-29.
Yeah, I know what that is. I'm just playing.
Okay, she shot a MiG-29. I think she shot one. Actually, they said she did pretty damn good.
They shoot MiGs out here.
That's not her on the ground with the Marines and the grunts. She ain't on the ground. They ain't gonna let her get on the ground.
And so I wonder. I really don't think. I really just doubt that. I think we have the data. We have the data from militaries around the world. With women, in those positions not really working as well. I really doubt that generals and the people really at the top are really thinking this is going to make our military better. I just very doubt this is going to make our police forces better.
It's kissing
I
up
doubt
to the
it.
blacks and
There's
the
kissing
women.
up, but I
You
think it's
already
also
know.
out of like it's just like a recruiting scheme. We just need bodies. We just need bodies, and we need numbers. I don't know. I just doubt that we truly think this is going to make a more effective police force and a more effective military. I just doubt that they really believe that.
You do know their uniform protocol is like their hair is always, if you look at the back in the day, even up to the 90s and 2000s, women in the military with their uniforms, it's very strict protocol, and their hair has to be in a bun.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're letting them wear
and a tub of gel. To just really paste that hair back. Don't they know that if they pull their hair back really like tight and for a long amounts of times, I think it causes like hair loss.
That's why their hair falling out. They got the big ass foreheads. So the thing is that the women's protocol in their uniform as far as their hair is to be in a bun. Even if it's a fake bun, they get their hair, they slick it back, they put it in the bun, they put their uniform, they put their hat on, they put their cover, they call it a cover, they put the cover on, and they go about their business. This new thing with Biden has going, and he's allowing the black girls to have weaves hanging down the back of their uniforms. Do you know some of the dangers of dangerous equipment that's in the military? Let's just say ships, machine guns, speeding things and machines during war. Do you know how easy they can be injured with that stuff hanging off their?
I see what you're saying now.
That's why they keep them in the bun. It's for safety.
It's like oil drillers and stuff. That's why you can't have anything hanging off of you, chains or anything. You get that caught in one of those drills, that's an arm gone.
Right. You know the shredder, the guy up in Redwood City, up here in the Bay Area, got caught in a shredder, like they're shredding the trees. You heard about that accident a month ago?
No.
Guy got killed instantly. He was shredded just like smithereens.
Oh, wow.
Okay. You have machinery in the military that does these things. They may not be feeding trees. They're feeding ammunition and stuff like this. They got so many things that are on automatic. You got hair hanging from you? It's a safety issue, brother.
Yeah, I was just getting into. I'm reading about the Great Wars that happened, and just then what uniforms meant, like where that came from. It has that's a men history for you,
Morale.
The uniform and what that meant. How
it's morale, man.
Foreign armies would wear.
Military is not built for individual. Military and armies and stuff, they're built to build one machine, and they're not going to take your feelings and put you to the side and say, okay, we want to do it a little different for you. They don't do that.
Well, thank you,
William.
William.
Is part of that.
Fascinating. Thank you, William, man. Is there the last thing you want to say before I move the wheels?
You can look for Google. I remember when Google came out. I should have invested in them. They were like $350 a share. I did not do it. They dropped out of Stanford. What was this, 97? They dropped out of Stanford, $350 a share. You know what those shares are? You can't even buy them anymore. Okay? Google is a search machine, people. Depending on how you ask the same question, I may ask it the same question in a different way. Depending on how you ask it, it's going to give you the answer depending on how you ask it.
I mean, he's spitting, folks. He's not wrong about that. That is true.
Yeah. So you Google people, you're supposed to have this information way before you even discovered the Hackett report.
I was raised by Google. I call him Uncle Google.
Yeah, but you're younger. You're younger.
No, but I wasn't saying. I'm not. Uncle Google's very smart, but he's not very wise.
Well, you do realize Google's information came from humans.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so sometimes you can pull up something that's wrong.
That is a good point, William, I think, to end off here, man. I appreciate your call. Do you want to say one last thing before we move the wheels?
I just want to say this is that I know I'm on point because I'm being stalked by 3 people, and it's all good. I'm very honored because Trump gets the same treatment. Why don't they like Trump? Because he tells the truth. Why don't they like Jesse? Because he tells the truth. And usually the truth is not very popular, is it?
It hoits.
It hoits. It hoits. Yeah. So, I don't mind it. You keep on trolling. We ain't got but 3 up. There's 4 of them. They're on a group text. There's 4 of them. There's 4 of them. And they say they hate you guys so much they can't stand your content, but they keep tuning in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, William.
Your Honor,
out here boxing him with one hand behind your back. Thank you, William. Appreciate it.
That's right. Hey, you would have said, Your Honor, your witness.
Thank you, sir.
Talk to you later, man.
Moving the wheels. Maybe I shouldn't be encouraging that. I appreciate your call, William. What's a tumbleweave? What the hey is a tumbleweave? Something else someone said here was funny. What are you guys talking about? They shooting MiGs out here. What the? ATC, aviation. What did we get into there? We got into a couple things there. A little whirlwind of a call there, but we do appreciate it. Thank you, William. Hey, I love y'all. Okay. Google, what do I Google? Google happy white couple in the pics. What am I Googling here? Someone's telling me to Google something. Uncle Google, he's a very smart guy. But, Uncle Google, he got Uncle Google is super smart. Like, you love talking to Uncle Google. Like, he's just so smart. He just knows so many things. But he got married and divorced 3 times. He's kind of still a mess. He kind of he's kind of like an old rocker. It's still kind of partying, but he's like, dude, come on, calm down. Pack a day. Uncle Google, he read somewhere. It's like, this guy lived till he was. Did you hear the story of this guy who lived till he was 100 and he smoked his whole life? And so Uncle Google took that and ran and is still smoking. Smart guy, but I don't know. I love him. I was raised by Uncle Google. Tumbleweave, when a weave is floating around in the middle of a street or a parking lot. In this case, the desert in combat. Okay, I'm telling you. I know what a tumbleweave is. I'm being obtuse. Obviously, I know what this is. What's wrong with me? Okay. All right, y'all. Search white woman on Google. Okay. White woman and white couple. Why is the phrase white women triggering Forbes.com? Okay, that must be a different rabbit hole. What the? Uncle Google has been radicalized or corrupted or something here. I've Googled white woman. Okay, not exactly. I guess that's a white woman. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but Uncle Google's acting funny. What the? What's this? I asked for a white woman. Why are you giving me this, Uncle Google? All right, Uncle Google, you're acting a little weird. You've had enough. Go home. You're drunk. Go home. You're drunk. Go to pictures. I never asked Jeeves. I hate him. Okay, someone told me to Google one more thing here. You've never seen a tumbleweave? Google happy white couple. Okay. Happy. But I already told Uncle Google to go home. He's drunk. Okay, one last thing. Okay, Uncle Google, before you leave, because you're drunk, we have happy white couple in Google Images. Are we going to get some stuff here? I mean, these look like happy white couples, right? Why does this look like a mother and a son? Okay. Happy white couples. That's just a happy couple. That's just a happy couple. Arguably a happy white couple. Okay. This is not significant at all, right? There's nothing significant going on here at all. Let's get back to the show here. They don't look happy to me. They're just pretending. Frederick, you're just like stirring the pot, don't you? Speaking of women, in fact, oh wait, what should we do first? We got into you know what? We'll go women, and then we start the show maybe a little deeper. Got into shallow. Maybe we can come back out. Okay, we'll do women. Grisham, New Mexico, they're out there with the guns in the streets. Is this a mistake? Are you guys getting excited, getting set up for another J6? And then we'll do maybe Vivek. They're asking him questions, this Hindu. You guys might find this interesting. We'll see if we can get into all of it. I'm talking about Boebert. We got ladies in Congress. We love our ladies in Congress. We love having ladies in Congress. But obviously, and by that I mean we don't love ladies in Congress. I don't think so. Might have been a mistake, y'all. And I know we have some firebrand ladies in the Congress, right? The Congress ladies, representatives. Lord. See, I told you I don't know ish. I didn't swear. That was a proxy. Lauren Boebert, American politician, U.S. representative for Colorado. We have a couple other firebrand ladies, MAGA ladies, for the Republicans out there representing the people. And we love them. Although they've had some mess, they're not quite the most ladylike of ladies, I gotta say. And there was some mess that came out recently where Lauren Boebert's having a divorce, and that's people's lives. People's lives, that's how they go. They're here to, this woman's here to do a job, not really about her personal life. And many of us here can have some understanding about that, right? We can, because of everything we've learned about ourselves and the callers. I mean, I don't think when we talk about Lauren and marriages and stuff like this, that we're really coming at it from, or at least we shouldn't come at it from a judgmental place. You guys follow me? Lauren Boebert, though, 20 years married, recently announcing this divorce. They have children, and you got to wonder, is this the best we could do? The best of the best, the statesmen and I guess states ladies of America that are holding it down, representing the people. Is this our best representation? Now, there's plenty of men with issues too. But it's just interesting. That's particularly with Boebert and some stuff coming out. Let's get into it. It's particularly ghetto and particularly low, just low class. Is that the right word here? Right expression? Boebert is a mess. Okay, she got booted out of a Denver theater Sunday night. And she was there with some mystery guy out there gallivanting, enjoying herself a night out, date night, they calling it. When her behavior at a performance of the musical Beetlejuice and reportedly vaping and singing along and taking pictures drew so many complaints, it saw her kicked out. Okay, drama, it's dumb. But I'm seeing some footage here and some images, and she's like flipping people off. And it's just particularly ghetto. And this is a Congress, this is a representative of Colorado. And let me see if I can pull it up here. Oh, you know what? I'm speaking mess here. Look, we want to keep things accurate here. We don't want to be reporting erroneously. If I do make a mistake, I do like to correct it. And I did say flipping off, and is this image that I saw, now that I'm looking at it closer, that's not a middle finger. She's not flipping anybody off there. So let's just be accurate here. She's just putting up a finger. She's just putting up a finger, and she's not too happy. Angry Lauren Boebert escorted out. Vaping. She's vaping. This is her new man, I guess. Where was that video? I know it's silly, but what's going on, fellas? And especially this fella, and I know you're not her husband, but you were there with her, sir. Like if my woman was like acting out, like that is a big no-no. You know, I think a lot of guys think they got to go and defend their woman like, hey, you can't treat her like that. But if your woman's acting out, I don't care what's happening. You're not doing your job. I heard she was, what? Kevin Howe? Why are you saying that? That seems like a interesting, anyways. He's saying, I guess I heard she was a honeypot call girl, an Israeli call girl. Where are you getting that from? Anyways, whatever. I lost my steam on this one, y'all. I don't really care. Lauren Boebert. Hey, these are the women in our House of Representatives. Kind of ghetto. I just never heard that before, Kevin Howe. Hey, what are you doing vaping? Don't you know that gives you popcorn lung? I don't know what that means. Let's move on here. Boebert, dating. You know, I was going to do this thing on dating. That's kind of why I brought it up. Because it's kind of a mess. I'm wondering how much politics and that mess is driving people apart, not really making babies. Because you got women out here and they're like, hate Trump. They're saying red flags in a partner. They identify as MAGA, Republican. This is a some kind of research poll here put out by Change Research. Red flags in a partner. Do you consider each of the following behaviors or traits a green, beige, or red flag? I didn't know there was a beige flag. If you don't know a red flag, obviously. You know, it's a warning sign if someone you're getting to know is going to be a good partner. They say partner. And they identify as a MAGA Republican is a huge red flag for 76% of women who answered this poll. It's at this point, I don't put too much importance to these polls and graphs and change research polls here. They say there are only two genders, 58. I mean, run it down here, and women are basically calling all the good stuff red flags. They say that they say there are only two genders. They say all lives matter. They identify as a MAGA Republican. Huge red flags for the women. I wonder how much all that is driving people apart. This ego fighting over this like politics stuff. Where are you getting that from? Are you talking to me? Change research. I'll just show you what I'm looking at. Again, don't put too much importance in this, but this is what I'm looking at here. Is this what you're asking? Red flags and partners. Change research. Green flags and partners. Hold on. I didn't see this one. They read. Apparently for both men and women is the top thing. What? They read. That's what you guys want? See, now I'm even more suspect of this poll. So apparently 95 and 91% of men, the top green flag in the partners that they read, researching for best deals and rates before buying. Men and women both agree. That's a really nice green flag. They say Black Lives Matter. 60% of women, green flag. 38%, much less in the men. Much less. They look better in person. They take candid pictures of you. Oh, gosh. Why are all these... Who did this? Change research is obviously a bunch of women. So we could just move on. But yeah, I just wonder how much this ego fight is adding to all this. And you get the government saying, just making it all worse, lying, jailing political opponents of people like some kind of communist regime. Driving people apart, driving the families apart, LGBT, men, you're horrible. And then low birth rates. And then they turn around and they're like, look at this mess. We got to start importing a bunch of immigrants. A bunch of people who think they're God, trying to fix the problems they created, making things worse. And Tim Cook thinks Mother Nature looks favorably upon him. God, who's black, who's a black woman, looks favorably upon Tim Cook. Who's getting the new iPhone? My phone's all broken. And I told myself, I'm gonna wait till the new iPhone comes out so I can just, this is now a couple of years old now, the 11. Should I stay in the Garden of Eden, the ecosystem of Apple? But where was I? But where was I? Let me see what you guys are saying here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. There's going to be a lot of single women in the future. Feels like there are a bunch now. Ivana. Alpha broken phone. I couldn't be like Hake. You guys know I'm trying to be like Hake. You sound like Hake. Like they used to say about Hake. You sound like Jesse. Hey, that's a compliment in my books. But he keeps his phone so nice and perfect without a case because he's a responsible individual who takes care of his things. I'm sorry for your future wife or girlfriend, Nick, or now. If this is how you treat your phone. Anyways. I mean, I like the look without the case. It's luxurious. But I don't have the moral wherewithal to have a caseless phone like this. Nick stream wilder than Cinemax on Saturday nights. Yeah, don't miss it. Friday, we're going to have another flight. We'll try to have a real flight. Everybody that missed it last Friday, again, apologies. I have a special piece of gear that should make it so that never happens again. And I used to have it installed, and then Bill needed it back, and then he doesn't need it anymore, so I can have it back. But then since then, I've been flying fine. Haven't had any issues until I had one. Should be a lesson. but I have a nice piece of gear. It should a crash like Friday happened shouldn't happen again. Never again, never forget, so that it may never happen again. So don't miss it. Friday, we're going to have a flight. 4 p.m. around that time is when we will be taking off. Should be a nice flight. We got plenty to get to since we never did do our Friday flight. But thank you to everyone who did join Friday. I'll make sure that all of you are first-class seats this Friday. Thank you, 4 p.m. Don't miss it. Follow me. Subscribe here so that you can stay in touch with what I'm up to. So check this out. We got armed citizens rolling into Albuquerque. We got the people in the streets. I'm talking about New Mexico, Albuquerque, and Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham? I don't know how to say that. After she signed this executive order declaring gun violence a public health emergency, demanding, basically, you can't have guns. And I reported on this recently. And the saga so far is basically the, I believe, sheriff or police chief of the area, I imagine Albuquerque. Sorry on the details here, but basically the saga goes that this New Mexico governor, there was a shooting, 11-year-old dies. She's like, that's it, public health emergency, no more guns. You can't carry them, you can't have them. More accurately, her order, the emergency order, which includes a 30-day suspension of open and concealed carry laws. That's to be accurate on what she did there. This is, we got public outcry. This is a violation of the Second Amendment. People are saying, what kind of right does she have to do this? You got the police chief then saying he's not going to enforce this. This is a violation of the Constitution. So we will not be enforcing this. And then you get the response from the governor saying, a police, let me get it right, but basically a police can't tell her what is and what isn't a violation of the Constitution. This is what this Grisham Mama woman said, female governor of New Mexico. But she basically, New Mexico sheriff, that's what he is, the New Mexico sheriff. She basically said, yeah, you don't get to tell me what violates and what does not violate the Constitution. And so that's kind of the saga. Over the weekend, though, home state constituents sent a message of their own. More than 100 gun rights supporters turned out in Albuquerque's Old Town section to show their support for the Second Amendment. Let me show you. Let's see if we can get some footage here going on.
Today, dozens of New Mexicans openly.
We do. Let us roll that beautiful bean footage. I say
proudly rallied against the governor's public health order.
I try not to steal that from Tommy Sotomayor, but I find myself saying that sometimes.
They're armed with plenty of guns. They protested
Don't worry,
and laid out their plan in Old Town.
I'm rewinding it. Okay. And let's watch.
Mexicans openly and proudly rallied against the governor's public health order, armed with plenty of guns. They protested and laid out their plan in Old Town Albuquerque. Tamara Lopez was there and found out if any of them got cited for breaking the rules.
This will not stand. We will not comply.
That was more than obvious Sunday in Albuquerque's Old Town. More than 100 people openly carrying their guns as they protested the governor's recent controversial move on firearms.
We're not here to cause any issues. We're just here to, express our amendment rights, and, we'll go from there.
This was a rally against part of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's public health emergency on gun violence, specifically the part where she banned carrying guns, either through an open or concealed carry permits in Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque for 30 days.
No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms.
My jaw dropped. For a Second Amendment to be suspended, it's it's unconstitutional. Let's put it that way. A lot of people here feel the same way.
Republican State Representative Stephanie Lord represents a district including Sandia Park, and she was at the Old Town rally and is taking her anger a step further.
So this is why I filed an impeachment. Representative John Block and I filed impeachment, which we plan to have done this week, and we plan on trying to push that through because she has done an illegal act and violated her oath.
What is her pitch for a solution to gun violence in our state? Representative Lord believes the governor should reconsider legislation that got nowhere in the roundhouse.
So what she should do is go back and look at the bills that we tried to present on the Republican side, that we tried to make it that if you're a felon doing a crime, we want to increase the penalties and keep you behind bars.
While the people at the rally are far from supporting the governor's decision, there is an agreement at the center of all this debate.
Governor, we understand what you're trying to do. We get it. We understand that, there's a huge amount of gun violence here in New Mexico. We get it. Be harder on crime. Keep them in jail. And that's all we ask.
Tamara Lopez, KOB4.
And that's such a sober point there, because we talk about crime and all this that's going on, and who's committing such things? Well, criminals, right? Not people, not you and I, I don't know about y'all, but just as criminals, not people who are not criminals. Okay, keeping it simple. And so this just affects the law-abiding people. And why that's a problem, because it's almost like the leaders, the elected officials, and sometimes even the police forces themselves, and obviously our neighbors, I don't know if they're really realizing that we don't really quite have to say, I guess they believe they're still in this largely safe world with just a few problems, and one of them is just too many guns, for example. But it's not quite the same world you grew up in. We're not in Kansas anymore. People are crazier. You're seeing it on the streets. With rises in homicides in some of these cities, the rates of the rising in the homicides are the rates of homicide are raising at a rate way faster than since they started recording all this stuff. And you see all that. Where was I? Oh yeah, you see all that. But I forgot what I was going to say. The rates are just raising fast, and basically, I forgot. Oh yeah, it's the criminals that are doing it. You're seeing this all happen, and people think, I guess, they're still in like a safer America, but it might be time to confront that we're not, and you just don't have that luxury of relying on 911. You gotta deal with life yourself. And that might mean violently with a firearm to protect yourself. So that's all this is. Yeah, I'm reading chat. I got distracted. That's all all this is. People playing SimCity, governors and all that, thinking that this is still reasonable. This is still within margins and reasonable levels of homicide and reasonable levels of gun violence. We just gotta just enact policies and just start bringing it down. But I don't know. No, I don't think so. The threat has become, and I'm trying to fearmonger, trying to make it seem like that bad. But the threat is people on the street, your neighbors, in some of these areas, your own neighbors. And so now what you need to be protected from is neighbors, homeless people that are near you. The threat is a lot closer. So all you're doing is making it more difficult for people to deal with that. Okay? So weird. But also, here's another thing, though. You got these people out there armed and protesting. And I don't know if it's time for that. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be this person just saying, you just got to sit there because I can accept and leave room for many things, including a time to be in the streets and fight, maybe even bring your guns or something. But I just don't see that because you got to stay in reality, a little sober-minded here. This woman knew that she was going to be challenged in the courts. She said that. That's why I was and she kept saying it's just a temporary suspension. So this is just like a testing of the waters. Hold up, y'all. This isn't the government marching to your doorstep, and it's this now or never, y'all. Like I'm trying to be. I hope you understand how I'm trying to approach this because I want you. There's a time and place to stand up and fight, and there's a time and place for all things. But we got to be a little smarter, especially after January 6th and all that. The enemy doesn't have is not playing this game of honor and following the rules and, hey, I may disagree with you, but you have every right to speak and we're going to keep things constitutional, blah, blah, blah. They don't have that mentality. So you go outside, you got 100 people with guns. Now, these people aren't, clearly we've seen in the videos, they're usually law-abiding citizens that have firearms. Are some of the safest, most decent, law-abiding people there are. I remember reading some article on how CCW holders are safer with firearms than most police officers and stuff like that. CCW, or Concealed Carry Weapons License. And so, obviously, these people are pretty decent people from what I could tell. But imagine an accident. Imagine a negligent discharge. Imagine a heated moment. Imagine all these things. Disengage. Don't participate. Don't talk about crap to relatives. Not everyone going to make it, says Amber Lance. It's just that after January 6th especially, we got to have our heads screwed on right. And I know the Second Amendment is our inalienable right given to us under God. Thank you, Patriot Girl. But like I said, there's people who don't believe that. And these people who don't believe that are willing to throw you in jail for decades, as we're clearly seeing. Reminder that even David Hogg denounced the governor's announcement. Really? No way. I support gun safety, but there's no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution. Whoa, David Hogg. If you don't know David Hogg, he became this anti-gun activist after this shooting, and he's been a firebrand voice. What the heck is Knitter? Someone just sent me a link to knitter.net. Is this a different social media? What the heck is Knitter? Fascinating. David Hogg. Interesting comments there interesting developments from David Hogg. Am I making sense, guys? After January 6th, we got to keep our mentality about us. They're trying to trap y'all, okay? It's trying to be, you got to keep your wits about you because you could be walking into a trap, okay? You know what I'm saying, y'all? Knitter. Someone sent me a link to knitter.net. Is this like a different social media site? Free open source alternative viewer for Twitter. Never mind. It is just still Twitter. Now x.com. Okay. Right on, y'all. Here's what we'll do to finish off here. Here's what we're going to do. Let me make sure I don't miss any chats here. You don't need a CCL in Texas. When I was in Canada, that was one of the things that almost made me go to Texas. I was thinking of Aaron C. So Nick's stance is do nothing as usual. Obviously, of Aaron C., you weren't listening at all to anything I just said. Nick's stance is do nothing as usual. Yeah, obviously, you didn't put on your listening cap. But where was I? What was I saying? I forgot. Hindu Rama Vivek, they're asking him about Jesus. This is what we'll do to end off here. You know Vivek Ramaswamy, presidential candidate? The Indian guy. The Indian American. American Indian? Wait a second, that's even more confusing. Republican voters eager to learn more about Vivek Ramaswamy are especially curious about one thing, his religion. He is a Hindu. Hindu. Where was I? Yeah. And he was asked about Jesus Christ. What's his opinion on Jesus Christ? And I kind of mentioned Vivek a couple times here. And I know there's conspiracies in the chat, and I'm truly a Vivek voter. I know there's conspiracy theorists in the chat who are convinced that I'm actually Ramaswamy 2024. But anyways, he's a Hindu male person. And we had some conversations recently, in fact, very fascinating ones about voting for a Hindu. Is that possible? Christians and their place in the elections and voting, should they even be involved? And what it means. And could you vote for a Hindu? That kind of stuff. And it was an interesting conversation. What is your opinion of Jesus Christ? An Iowan asked Ramaswamy. Can we watch this footage here? MSNBC, or is this NBC? NBC News. Shall we? Ramaswamy. I mean, why not? Let's just watch it. Why not? Let's just watch it. Ramaswamy takes questions about Hinduism, the Bible, quoting, first-time candidate is getting asked about his Hindu faith repeatedly on the campaign trail. Here's one moment. Thank you, NBC News. Vivek Ramaswamy on the campaign trail talking to an Iowan. Oh, Lord. What do I got to do? What do I got to do, NBC? What do you want me to do? How do you want to do this? What do you want me to do to make you work? Is that what you want me to do? You just want me to press that? Okay. Well, thank you, NBC.
So I'll be very honest. It's not a hard question at all. So in our faith tradition, Jesus Christ is a son of God. I know that is different than saying he's the son of God. But that is my view of Jesus Christ. He's got our family. Do we worship in churches? Yes, we do. Is that compatible with our faith? Yes, it is. One true God in many forms. So that's different, and I understand that.
Yeah, it is different. The only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ.
I think that is the path. That is a path to heaven is the way we look at it. But belief in God is what we say. Yeah. Belief in the one true God. That's the way I look at it.
One true God, monotheist, based monotheist Hindu Vivek Ramaswamy believes in the one true God. Now, about Jesus, though. About Jesus, he's just a son of God, not the son of God. And I bet you that comment would even split my own chat here. I bet you some people would be like, well, that's pretty based. Jesus is not God. He's our brother. Some of you might say, well, that's Jesus, the son of God. How dare he blaspheme? Some of you might even take it that far. This Hindu blasphemer. But you know what I noticed? I noticed that everyone who, I'm not saying Vivek or this guy were fighting about this, but everybody who fights about this doesn't really know who Jesus was or is, or you know what I'm getting at? Because it all sounds interesting, right? Like, oh, the son of God, a son of God. But I noticed that type of speech is actually quite common amongst the religious people. All the cultures, they all kind of have their take. And it's either he was a prophet, not a savior, or he was a savior and he wasn't this, or he was God in the flesh, but not this. You know what I'm saying? Like the Muslims say that, well, yeah, he was a prophet, but not the savior. The Hindus apparently say, well, he was a son of God, not the son of God. There's like this silver lining of truth, maybe, amongst all these things. But I think most people talking about those things, they don't really know what they're saying. I think the people who argue like that are showing how shallow their thinking is. This dialectic of the Son of God versus a Son of God is usually pretty shallow and usually just used as a way to get on the right side with the person you're talking to. Do you know what I'm saying here? Like if it's just a way of talking to the crowd. Am I making sense here? Like when a person, like a Muslim saying something like, no, yeah, we see Jesus very important. He's a prophet. We love him. He's very important, as a way of currying favor from the Christians. Well, look, they see him as a prophet. They see him as this, but this kind of categorizing of Jesus in that way, kind of putting him in this box, I think shows how shallow people are, I think, about it. Everyone who fights about that, I think it's showing they don't really know who Jesus was. What an interesting concept. Like, who is this guy? I mean, I never met him. So it's just interesting to even talk like that. Who Jesus was and how he was or whatever. Like as if you met the person. I think we can understand that there's I think what we can know in that I can't know what he was like. I never met him. I didn't hang out with him, that kind of stuff, right? Even though it's shallow. But I think when people are saying understand Jesus or know him, is that you truly can see that what was working through him can or is working through you. If I could just keep it simple and not just ramble on about stuff that I may not just sound empty and just go on and on. But just that, okay? That is the same thing that was in him is in you. And you're like, wow, now I understand. Wow, wow, wow. Now I understand, now I can see. So just people arguing. Right on, Vivek. A Hindu with the heart of a Christian, maybe? I don't know. But, yeah, what do you guys think? The Son of God versus a Son of God. Kiss up response to show some value. Right, Kohlberger? Pandering, if you will. No to Vivek, Trump all the way. We know that. Come on, y'all. That's not even up for debate. Thank you, Lady C-Sal. Take care and enjoy your episode of King of Queens. Bye. He's a prophet, says hate speech. Yep. Nick trying to sway us over. See, there's the conspiracy theorists. You think pagan Shiva burned stuff up, Vivek. Right on, chat. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being in there in the chat and calling in. Frederick, I'll take your call tomorrow, my friend. I did not get to the rest of the callers here. What are y'all saying? Old Saucy, what's up over there on Rumble? Rumble.com/American Anchor, baby. If you just wanted to switch it up. Nick and Vivek face to face. I'll debate him. Nah, Nick, one of the biggest MAGA Trump guys I've seen. Let's go. It was funny, Zerka. I met John Zerka and we were talking and Jesse was telling him that I'm the anchor, baby. And I forget why I'm even bringing this up. Kevin Howe, your comment here made me think of this for some reason. But he said, you're an anchor, baby, and you support the wall, and you're MAGA? Based. And I'm thinking, like, I don't even see that as based or deep. That's just, like, obvious. Maybe because I did a little bit of this work. Nah, I don't want to be too presumptuous here, but maybe I don't see that as deep, and I just see that as normal because it is normal. And I'm coming back to maybe a little bit of sanity, and you don't need information and facts and data to get there. You need to forgive. Wrapping it all up with a nice little bow, huh? You guys enjoyed the show today? I hope you did. We'll be back tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. That's Thursday's show. Open Bible Thumper Thursday on the JLP show. The Hake Report, as always, and more American Anchor Baby at 12 noon tomorrow, Thursday. All right, y'all. I do believe that's the show. Jabrail NTP coming in strong with the super chat, first class super chat there right at the end of the show. Says, Nick, Muslims truly love Jesus. Peace and blessing be upon him. Jesus not having man father does not make him God. Adam had no father, not mother. We still see him as prophet. Peace and blessing. I don't doubt that there are Muslims who truly respect and truly at least see something or even and love Jesus. I don't doubt that. Thank you, Jabrail NTP. Always supportive, man. Thank you so much. And what else here? That is all for now, y'all. Much appreciated. I'm going to do, you know me, I'm going to sign off maybe 4 or 5 times here. But we'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, American Anchor Baby. That's all the chats. That's the super chats, trying to wrap it all up nicely. We do love that. All right, y'all. I will sign off here for one final time. And as always, always a pleasure. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.